Now, if you're starting calisthenics and bodyweight strength, there's some certain strength skills that you really need as a foundation to build cool skills on top of. And that's what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to go through the basic stuff that I believe everyone should be working on, or at least making sure that they can do at a good level. So let's go through that today. So number one, the trusty push-up. Now, the goal with this one is just to be able to keep the body one segment. So one segment from the shoulders to the toes, come all the way down, touch the body against the floor, and then all the way back up again. What we don't want to do is this, or have segmentation in the body where we're doing funky stuff. We want to try and get that one segment. Now, if we struggle with that, there's a few ways we can make it easier. Number one, we could do an eccentric, so the down phase only. So I'm in that top position, got a nice strong shoulder position. I'm not collapsed through the shoulder blades. I'm pushing up strong. And then I'm just going to come down, keeping the body as one segment. And I'll go all the way down until my chest and chin touches the floor at the same time. Hold for a few seconds, then relax. Now, if I wanted to, I could add the concentric by having knee support. So now knees to shoulders is a straight line, and then go back up into that position and then slowly back down again. Now, maybe the one I prefer is to raise the hands up. Now, what the raising the hands up does is it makes it easier, but allows me to stay on my toes. So now I can use that one segment from the shoulders to the toes, but go through the full range of motion. And the cool thing is that with a setup like this, it's easily progressed because I can slowly take bar lower and lower until I make it down to the floor. And obviously the opposite, if I want to make it easier, I could go higher and higher. And then once I'm comfortable with the push-up, I can progress to dips. Now, ideally with the dips, we're going to start in that support position, go all the way down to a nice deep position. I slightly lean forwards, and then I push back up to the good support position. We might need to break this one apart to start with, work that bit by itself. So that top support position, not collapsing, pushing the shoulders back and down, opening the chest in that position. And then I can practice the bottom position as well. So going all the way down there, toe assist maybe, or ideally lift the toes up. Then I can work the eccentric. So from that top support position, slowly down, light toe assist if I need it, and then in time, a little bit of help to get back up, and then eventually do the repetitions. Now, I would call those two the bent arm strength foundations for the push movements, not the pull-in, the push. Now let's look at the pull-in. Now think of the pull-in as being the opposite movement to the push-up, so now I'm going to do a row. So I'm going to start with the fists against the chest. I'm going to slowly go backwards, round the upper back, and then pull back up to that start position. Now with the rings, I can just adjust how hard that is by where my feet are. If I want to make it easier, I can walk backwards. Now I've got less of my body weight in my arms, but I go through that same range of motion. Or if it's easy, I can start to walk the feet down, and now I have more of my body weight, so it's harder. The barbell on the rack works exactly the same. So chest to the bar. I can start with a shorter lever arm with the knees bent. I can go to straight legs, and then I can decrease the height of the bar, which makes it harder, or I can increase the height of the feet. You can do exactly the same with this type of bar setup. It's just that I have a parallel grip on the bar like that, but same effect, pulling all the way up. Make it harder by straightening the legs. Once we've got that good foundation with the rows, we can then start to progress to chin-ups or pull-ups. So exactly the same as we've done with the dips. We could go straight into the full movement if you have the strength. If you don't have the strength yet, we can do the segments that make up the full movement. So we can do the hang at the bottom. We can do that initiation at the start. We can do a hold in that top position. We can then do the slow eccentrics, or use some sort of assistance, whether that's toe assist or band assist. So now we've covered the bent arm strength for the pushing and the pulling. Now let's look at the strength demands when we're in a straight arm position. So that covers the bent arm strength. Now we need to look at the straight arm strength. What are the foundations we need in place to do the cool things like the planches, press handstands, and the levers? Now I'll be looking at two static foundations first. So the static foundation number one is to be upside down and hold this position. Now that way I went into it, it's harder for a lot of people to have the confidence to kick upside down into that position. The easier way to get into it is go this way, turn the hands over, walk backwards, take the hips up nice and high, and then step 1 foot, 2 foot, be there, practice coming out in both directions to make sure that you feel safe. And then you can start to hold and then start to pull up to a candle position. And then alongside that, if we practice that handstand position, so pushing away, just put your feet up on the wall in that tuck position and just build confidence and strength here. You can progress this to a straighter position, but it's more or less just hanging out here to start with to build that upside down conditioning where you're pushing the floor away. We don't want to be collapsing there. We want to be pushing away, come back out again. And then if you do have the luxury of having rings, the next element is just to add in the skin the cat variation, which is an amazing movement because it fills all of the gaps for the straight arm strength. So number one, I would be spending time in this German hang. So turn the hands over, walking backwards, set up at a height where you can comfortably get your knees to the floor. Just get some weight into the shoulders and feel a good stretch. Over time, you can decrease weight until the point where you can lift off in that position. We can also then practice the exit using toe assist, back this way, and then coming down with control slowly to the floor, and then opposite movement all the way back out. Now that one is a little bit more skill dependent, understanding where the body needs to go at the right time. I've got a separate video where I go into more detail on how to build that. But the beauty of it is the back bit is working the planche position, so the straight arm push, and the front part is working the front lever position or our straight arm pulling strength. Now if you don't have the ring set up or you just want to add in another bonus, go into a planche lean. So externally rotate the hands up into a protracted position, so rounding that upper back, up onto toes. If that feels okay and you can hold a strong scapular shoulder position, I can lean forwards a little bit. And then from there I can turn the toes over, make sure you're not piking the hips, and just spend some time there, or go backwards, back into the position, and in and out visiting, but making sure that you've got that rounded upper back and it's a strong position. Now when it comes to legs, there's 3 foundational movements that we need to make sure that we have good quality in before we stack on the harder skills and progressions. So first of all, a squat. Can we sit down onto a box or a step and stand back up again? Now with this one, we don't want to be doing this. We don't want to be leaning forwards, taking the butt backwards. And not everyone's going to be able to do it barefoot. So if you need to, give yourself a heel lift and then just come down to your body weight position as deep as you feel comfortable with, and then come back out again. Now you have to work with your mobility here, but ideally we're going to sit the hamstring onto the calves and have an upright torso at the bottom. We can progress the squat to one leg, the pistol squat. You could add load. You could increase the flexibility demand. So having the hands above your head in that position is way harder. A good way to set that up is just to stand in front of the wall, have your hands against the wall, and then squat up and down. The wall will either push you off or not, and you make that harder by taking yourself closer to the wall. Then we have the lunge pattern. Now we can progress this in different ways, whether it's mobility or strength. But from a foundation point of view, we want to make sure that when you get on the floor, you can get back up from this position. So 90 degrees at the knee, 90 degrees at the knee in line with the hip crease. Can you step up from that position? Can you go back down again? Is that comfortable? Can you do it on both sides? If not, we need to isolate it, we need to train it. And then you can start to progress it by elevating the back foot, driving the knee really far forwards. And then the third pattern for the legs, we should be able to do a deadlift. So standing nice and close to the bar's touching my shin in that position. I hold flat back, feel the tension in the hamstrings and the glutes, lift nice and tall, and then go back to that start position and repeat. And obviously with this one, we can go to single leg variations, but increasing weight for most people, making sure you can do 5 to 10 reps with good form, good technique is just going to set you up really nicely. So those are the foundations. I'd recommend that you at least assess all of those and check where you're at. Look for any gaps. If you're new to calisthenics, new to bodyweight strength, and do have the gaps, I recommend you run through that 2 or 3 times per week. I do have a program that goes along with this in my app. Link is down in the description. Let me know if you have any questions or feedback, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.